What's shaking, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay, and today we're going to talk about all the things I read in the month of May. So for half of the month I vlogged because I was picking books out of my bag of books, and then the rest of the month I did not, mostly because I was reading what I wanted to read for the month of May. So let's go ahead and jump into it. My reading didn't go exactly as planned. I think I'm at my new kind of normal, which is around 3,500 pages a month, which is okay. It's definitely not where I used to be, but I'm also doing a lot more different things so that take up my time. So reading is still a priority, but I'm just not reading as much as I used to. But let's go ahead and get into the books. So I read 8 books. Really, I read one at the very last day of April, but I'm counting it in my May wrap up because I didn't talk about that book in the month of April. So I read 8 books, a total of 3,505 pages. And if you don't know how I do my wrap ups, I do them from lowest rated to highest rated. And so let's go ahead and dive right in. I did DNF one book this month, and that was going to be One of Us is Lying by Kristen McManus. This is a YA mystery thriller kind of story, and I just found that I didn't jive with it. I am finding it very hard to continue to read YA. This book has like 700,000 something ratings on Goodreads, so clearly a lot of people love it, a lot of people enjoy it. It was not for me. Now, coming in at number 8 is going to be Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This is going to be a very controversial opinion on this one. This one is mostly very beloved in the community. And I did go over this in a little bit more in vlog, so I won't go over it a lot here. But I just didn't really connect with the main character. It follows a story where, really honestly, it's a conversation about acceptance, and our main character is transgendered, and in his community he wants to be a brujo, who is the men in the clan who can see the spirit world and basically commune, I guess, with the spirits. And then you have the brujas who do the women's work. They are healers. They also spend a lot of time in the kitchen and doing the cooking and all of those things that are very stereotypical of women to do. And our main character, while they are trying to figure out, he summons a spirit. So clearly, you know, he goes against his family's wishes and becomes a brujo instead of a bruja. And we're trying to figure out what happened to somebody died and what happened there and who is this spirit that he has conjured. And I felt like there were some really great conversations on acceptance, but I also felt like there were some really negative things about gender stereotypes in general in the story because we were so focused on accepting him as being transgendered, and so some of it got lost in between stereotyping other genders, if that makes any sense. And I just didn't jive with the story. Like, I didn't jive with this romance. It was not really a fantasy. It was a fantasy romance. Heavy, heavy, heavy on the romance. Not very many fantastical elements besides brujas and brujos. Okay, that's enough on that. Next, at number 7, we have Race the Sands by Sarah Beth Durst. I'm not sure if this is meant to be an adult standalone or YA standalone fantasy, but it is a standalone, so that's fantastic. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I loved the writing of this. I just didn't get along very well with some of the twists and turns, and a lot of the characters I didn't feel connected with. This is following these spirit animals. Like, somebody gets reincarnated, they maybe get incarnated into this animal, and they're trying to race these animals. And you have the teacher, who is the older protagonist, and then you have the younger protagonist, who is the writer. So interesting things going on there. Still would recommend, especially if you are looking for a standalone fantasy. Coming in at number 6 is The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. Now listen, don't come for me. I gave this book 3 stars. I overall really enjoyed the book, but some of it took a lot longer to get to where I wanted to go, and some of it I did not have the best time getting there. For some of it, I'm really sorry. I was bored. So this is an Arthurian legend retelling, and this is a trilogy, and I've heard that it is overwhelmingly the best King Arthur retelling. So 100% I do recommend this. I am going to continue on with the series, and it is going to get adapted this fall on MGM Plus. I don't even know what that is, but it's being adapted there. So if I can find a way to watch it, I'll watch it. Coming in at number 5 is going to be the biggest disappointment in the world. I'm kidding. That's going to be Shadow's Edge by Brent Weeks, which is the second book in the Night Angel trilogy. And if you don't know, I gave the first book, The Way of Shadows, 5 stars. I absolutely adored it. I understand that a lot of people had a lot of, gripes with Kylar as a character, but I just loved him, and I loved his coming of age story. However, in this second book, legitly, for 50% of the book, we talk about nothing but sex and how Kylar's gonna get sex and how he wants sex and all of that. And I'm really sorry, but in what's happening in this world, I just really don't think that would be at the forefront of your mind. Just gonna throw that out there. It did pick up after the first 50%. There's still a lot of jibes about the sex life. I don't really quite understand this, Brent Weeks. I do not understand, but I did overall still gave it 3 stars. I'm still looking forward to the conclusion of the trilogy. Coming in at number 4 is The First Girl Child by Amy Harmon. This is my first Amy Harmon book. She writes a lot of lit fic, historical fiction, and this is like her historical fantasy, I guess we can say. It really has I want to say like a mythology background. If you want to hear more about this book, you can definitely check out one of my reading blogs, which I read this book in. I was very shocked and surprised. This book just had a lot of conversations as well about acceptance, and I overall really enjoyed the themes of this. I enjoyed the characters, and highly recommend if you're looking for historical fantasy. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. Yes, I read this chunker and I overall enjoyed it. I'm happy that I read the trilogy. I have no regrets. My only issue with this is I gave this book 4 stars. I gave every book in the series 4 stars, but this one was my least favorite of the entire series. I honestly thought at the end that I was not going to cry, because I was like, no, there's no way I'm gonna get emotional with this. Like, yeah, I like the characters, but no way. I bawled like a baby. So obviously these characters meant or mean a lot to me, but this last book just really lost a lot of my love for the series, because in the first book it's taking place over a short amount of time. In the second book we're maybe going over a few years. In this book we're spanning decades, and I think that was just too much of a fast pace for me. We have grown with these characters. We have seen what they are doing. We have seen the aftermath of some of their decisions, and here they're making big decisions. There's big things happening. In the next chapter we're 6 years ahead in time, and I just felt like that wasn't justice to the story and justice for these characters. And maybe the series should have been longer. Maybe you tried to put a series that should have spanned 4 or 5 books into a trilogy, because that's like the thing that we do in fantasy now, is only write trilogies. I don't know, but overall, I was disappointed with Jade Legacy. I know everybody else loves this book, but I was disappointed. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Morning Star by Pierce Brown, which was my reread. This is the second time I read this book. I didn't put it at the top because I just can't put a reread at the top, but 5 stars still. I love this. This is my favorite book of the trilogy, and also my favorite book of the entire series out so far. I am continuing to read these books one a month until Lightbringer comes out, and so I can read Lightbringer. So I am happy to be back with Darrow and Severo and all of my friends. I feel like I have been apart from them for some time, and now I'm coming back. And the number 1 book for me that I read this month was going to be Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. I don't know why this book hit me so hard. This was a 5-star read, but it did. This is a fantasy horror, and it also has some really heavier themes. It has a lot of trigger warnings. If you are a person that needs trigger warnings, this is definitely the book to check them, because nothing really bothers me that much, but I did have some areas in this book that I was clutching because of how dark it got. And it had a mystery element to it. There were twists and turns. I loved it, and I don't even know why, because generally me and horror don't get along that much, but I absolutely loved it. and I would highly, highly, highly recommend Juniper and Thorn as long as you check the trigger warnings. I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like you need to go in blind. You need to. It was just fantastic. Now, that's it. That's all that I read in the month of May. Of course, we have a few days left. I don't think I'm going to read anything else in the month of May. I'm working on my Spiffbo 9 first chapter reads. I'm doing that kind of thing and just taking a break from reading at the moment. What even is a break from reading? I don't know, but I'm taking it for a few days. Let me know what you guys read in May. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Let me know what your favorite book was that you read in May, and I'll catch you guys later.